we're going to get started. So thanks everybody for being here at Zero to Pipeline. Super excited to do this. I'm launching a book, for those of you who don't know. It's for small business. It's really, someone jokingly said, it shouldn't be called Employer Brand for Small Business. It should be called Employer Brand for Small Budgets. And I'm like, ooh, where were you when I was writing the title? That is a great title, because that's really encapsulate what the book's all about, which is why I'm doing this. Pipeline is super important. And I know from experience, and I know from talking to a lot of people in TA, it's a little nerve-wracking. It's a little scary. So what I wanted to do is boil things down to its simplest, most easiest to digest forms. And we'll talk about details in a second, but this is the goal, is to make sure you know how to build a pipeline, because pipelines are critical. They are absolutely critical, and about to be even more so as we get into this world where, anybody want to talk about how Indeed prices their things lately, right? Job boards and posting your jobs and expecting that to work for you is not a great strategy right now, right? Okay, so thinking about pipeline, thinking about talent pools, thinking about getting people excited and warmed up to you well before you need to hire them. Here's the deal. Job boards, not the future. All right. Anybody who wants to invest is not investing in job boards. That is not the future of talent acquisition. It's all about effectively planting the fields before you're hungry, right? It's not about, ooh, I need talent, I'm going to go get it. That's the hunter-gatherer mentality. And you may notice that the hunter-gatherers mostly died off from starvation and turned into farmers, right? People who could reliably plant fields and irrigate them and cultivate them and know how much food they were getting. And in this metaphor, food is talent. You get that? I know you're all very smart people. That you're getting a reliable pipeline of talent when you need it, as you need it. It's a different model, and it's a process to shift over. But that is, without question, hands down, no question, no even the issues, don't call the jury to order. This is the future of talent acquisition. Yes, we'll always need job boards, probably, but no one's going to love them. It's really going to be about building pipeline. And the best part about pipeline is that it's really not magical. I've seen some really cool tools. Clinch has some good tools, and I'm going to try not to be a commercial for Clinch, even though they do offer these things. But it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be fairly straightforward, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's set some definitions up here. I talk about talent pipelines because the concept of talent community irks me out a little bit. A community is when people can talk to each other. So if you have a talent community, do your, what do you call them? Subjects, applicants, supplicants, people who get your emails, whatever you call them. Do they talk to each other? No. Okay, not a community. Call it a talent pool? Okay. Call it a network? Maybe. Call it a pipeline. It is there for you to pick great people, to target great people before you need them. Because we know that the duration of how long it takes to hire is very long, and it keeps getting longer, right? People are, there's research that says effectively everybody's always looking for a job all the time in some respects, which means I'm now looking for a job that I may not have for 10 years, and that's a pretty long half-life. That's a pretty long journey. But people are looking for talent that way. They're looking for jobs that way. They're not just saying, oh, I got fired. Oh, I hate my boss. I want to leave. I'm going to look for a job. They're kind of always looking. They're kind of always aware. They're always sort of in the market. So selecting the right people, putting them in a pipeline, giving them information, letting them know what you're about, what you care about, what you reward, all the good employer branding type stuff, that's what it's about. And then they can decide if they like you. They can decide if you are a company worthy of consideration. There's a lot of value, and we'll talk about that in a second. But ultimately, it's just a collection of people that you want to talk to who have decided to talk back. They've raised their hand. They've said, yes, let's hang out. Let's talk. I want to hear more in whatever capacity that might be. So this is me. I'm James Ellis. I got a book coming out. There it is in blue, Employer Brand for Small Business. It is mostly live at the moment on Amazon. You can buy it as an ebook right now. Fingers crossed that the hardcover becomes available today or tomorrow. It was supposed to become available yet today. It hasn't yet. It's not making me crazy at all. Why do you ask? But it should be ready today or tomorrow. I hope you guys. It was an exciting book to write. The early feedback is super, super positive. Take a look if you're interested in that sort of thing. Also, if you're interested in employer brand or kind of raising your talent acquisition game, pull up your little supercomputer that you keep in your pocket, pick a picture of that QR code, and sign up for my free newsletter. It's designed to help make you a little bit better about employer branding and talent strategy every single day. And amazingly enough, it's free. So I'll count to 5 to let you take a picture of that if you so desire. All right, good enough. I can count to 5. Here we go. So why do you build your pipeline? The thing is, we all know that post and pray is dead, right? Posting your jobs doesn't do much. It's like casting a hook into the water and hoping that a fish bites the hook. What kind of fish is that? What kind of fish would that be? Would you actually want that fish? Probably not. That is not your highest quality fish. That is not the smartest fish, right? I joke that anybody who responds to a "we're hiring" really only cares about the fact that you hire, not about the job or you or the company or what you reward or the future of the company. They're doing it completely transactionally, which in some places makes sense. Not a lot. Not too many. You don't want people who are just willing to take any old job. You want people who want what you have to offer. Now, getting them to understand what you have to offer takes time, right? I'm an employer brander. I like to think in taglines sometimes and concepts, but ultimately that tagline is not a complete encapsulation of everything someone might like about working at a company. It's a hook. It's there to spark interest. It's there to draw people in, to learn more, to become engaged with what you ask. Well, what we're going to talk about, right? Talking about the benefits, talking about all the different reasons why people show up, why they engage, why they like working there. That is the domain of pipelining, right? That's the space where you can slowly trickle that information out to them so that they start to go, yeah, I get what this is about. I get what this company cares about. I'm kind of interested. And they get to keep going. I mean, ultimately, it's just the next logical step of talent, right? It's not about going to get talent because, like I said, anybody who just gets to get got, you don't want them. They're not your best talent. They're commoditized talent. And a lot of people who I can see on this participant list, you're not looking for commoditized talent. You're looking for transformational talent. You're looking for the best possible hire every single time. And if you're not, your hiring managers are. Sorry, just saying. Right? The reason they say things like this person seems really great, can you find me more? Is because they're hoping to level up. And you don't level up transactionally. You level up when people have time to digest what you're about, to absorb what you're telling them, to decide if it's credible, if it's useful, if it's interesting, if it's what they want. There's a great article about used car salespeople. I think it's on Edmunds. It's like from 8 years ago, but it's one of those articles that people keep passing around and I keep seeing my newsletters every once in a while. Great article about how people sell clunky cars overpriced every single day. And one of the things they talk about is this idea that speed serves the seller. The longer you can take to slow the process down, the more the candidate goes, I don't know, let me think about it, and a worry pops in their head and they fret. That's how you sell a used car, right? Getting hey, here's the dotted line, sign the dotted line, let's go. What's it going to take to get you into this car today? That is used car salesman tactics. Don't be that, right? You're better than that. What you're offering is a life-changing opportunity, and you can't offer that just by saying, what is it going to take to get you in this job today? You got to give them time. And that time supports credibility, and they start to believe what you have to say. Now, but to do that, you start by thinking about pipelines, not by thinking about open recs. That is the biggest kind of mental shift we have to deal with here. So, like I said, Clinch is supporting this. I thank Clinch very, very much, and I like them. But they are not the only CRM system you could look at. In fact, you don't even have to look at a CRM system at all. Like I said, I wrote this book, Employer Brand for Small Business, designed around how do I help people activate their employer brand with effectively no money. And I challenged myself. I said, how do you build a pipeline without any investment? Well, the answer is weird, but it's possible. I'm going to reveal it in a second. But I just want to kind of say, what we're talking about here is true of every CRM, every pipelining tool you could ever think of. This is good thinking to apply to whoever you have or whoever you're considering buying. What I thought about was, if I can bring this down to its lowest common denominator, the cheapest common denominator, how's that? The cheapest common denominator. If I can make good thinking that makes a free platform work, imagine how great it's going to be when it's applied to a more complex, a more thoughtful, more expensive platform that you may already have. And the platform I'm thinking about is Substack. Now, I want to ask for a show of hands because some of you know what Substack is. Some of you don't, and I'll very quickly explain. It's a newsletter tool. It's a free newsletter tool, meaning you go to substack.com, you sign up for a newsletter, and you can make a newsletter. You can publish every month, every week, every day, every hour if you felt like it. I don't know why, but you could, and it's free. You can have people sign up to your newsletter, and you can publish out to them. There's even commentary. There's an opportunity for them to like stuff. There's a little bit of engagement there. But for free, you simply can't beat what Substack is offering. So this is what we're going to use as kind of our core functional tool set. I don't want to get in the weeds of this tool does this kind of cool thing and this tool does that. It doesn't do this. It's not about the bells and whistles. It's about the thinking that says, what do my candidates want? How do I offer it to them so that they become interested in what I have to say and slowly reel them in? Okay, here we go. These are the steps to building a pipeline. Very simple. It's 9 steps, which makes it sound very unsimple. But if I said 3 steps, you'd know I'd be lying. Come on. Nothing is that simple. Nothing worth doing is just 3 steps. So bait, form, manage, welcome, segment, evaluate, send, content, track. I'm now realizing I should have just triple checked to make sure like the anagram doesn't spell anything dirty. It does not, so we're good. All right, cool. Let's jump into it. The first thing, and probably the most important thing, is the bait. And that is, why on earth would anyone give you their email address? Why? Right? No one actually says, you know what I don't get enough of these days? Spam emails. You know what I don't get enough of? Random emails that I don't remember signing up for. You know what I need more of? Emails about who aren't necessarily to me, but just in general. They're asking me to do things. You know what I want more of? That. No one has ever said that. No one has ever said that. And that includes your candidates. And I say that with a little bit of love, but also a little bit of, it's medicine and sugar, right? I think too often TA teams are so used to saying, we have jobs, that's all the bait we need. Well, this tool and this thinking precludes having a job. So that means you no longer have that bait to attract attention, to cause people to give you their email address, to raise their hand and say, I'm interested in learning more. So I think about bait in 2 kind of buckets. The first is a promise. This is the easiest to do badly and the hardest to do well, right? It's easy to check that box, say, oh yeah, we'll just make a promise that we're going to do some stuff. I know. I've made those promises myself, and I have found myself kind of back against the wall trying to fulfill them and thinking to myself, why did I make those promises? What was I possibly thinking, right? But making a promise about what you will soon be offering is super easy. It is, however, really hard to do well, right? You really got to sell it, for lack of a better word. You really got to explain, hey, when you sign up, you're going to get this, 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 and you're not going to get that, and you're not going to get that. You need to make it crystal clear what someone is going to get. This is as close to aspirational in my thinking as I ever try to get, to be perfectly honest. I'm not a big fan of just, hey, one day everything will be magically wonderful. Hey, one day we'll be a great company to work for. I guess, right? Employer brands that are built on aspiration are, there's a word for it, and I'm not going to get into that. If you check out today's newsletter, you can see why. Anyway, the other thing you could be doing for bait is figuring out what's an immediate deliverable. A white paper, a video, a blog post that's super, super useful. Process information, right? A secret, a tool set, a hack, a lesson, a thing, right? What is a thing that you can say, if you want this thing, just give us your email address, and every once in a while we'll send you a piece of email. That's a fairly reasonable transaction. Many of us are on newsletters right now purely because we wanted a piece of bait and we haven't gotten around to hitting the unsubscribe button, right? Right? There's a reason. So think about what you offer someone, a complete and total stranger. What can you offer that makes them say, I want to be a part of that? Remember, take jobs off the table. And I even think that saying, hey, we'll give you a future peak to upcoming jobs, I think even that's kind of fuzzy. I don't think that's going to be working. I think, let's be fair, right? Jobs are easy to find, right? We know where they list, where they're listed, where you can find them. There are two big places. They always seem to be listed there. Right? Remember, anybody or is old enough to remember the line that says 80% of all jobs are never posted on a job board or a newspaper or whatever. Yeah, the fact that I use the word newspaper should be a red flag. That's old thinking. It's pretty much true that almost every job is out there, right? It's a simple Google search away, right? So thinking about jobs as being, hey, that's my bait, I'd wave you away. Think about what you can offer. That might mean finding something or manufacturing something. Either way, you need to have some bait. Okay, great, you got the bait. How do you turn desire into action? A form. Now, to be fair, every CRM has some sort of form. Like Clinches, I know, allows you to embed that form into a job page. So you're like, ooh, that's an interesting job, but I'm not ready to look for a job. I'd like to sign up for a pipeline. I'd like to sign up for community so that eventually I'm reminded of jobs. Valid. But if you're not using something off the shelf, you need to think about what's the form and the means by which I collect those email addresses. Now, if you're using a Substack type tool, there's a version that does that, but it has a minor limitation to it. And I want to talk about that in step 3, but it's simply this. It's designed to make the process of collecting that email address very, very simple and very, very fast, which generally sounds like a super positive thing, but it may actually be too fast, right? This idea that, hey, do you want to join my newsletter? Sure. Great, here's your free thing. And then every day or every week or every month, you get the newsletter. That is technically workable. But there's a lot of evidence out there that suggests that making it too easy to get that email, making it too easy to get on that newsletter, to get that on that pipeline tool set, actually works against you in the long run. So if you're using Substacks or using something else, or you're just using Google Form, right? Just give me your email address and every day I'll grab it and stick it in whatever tool I have to send an email out to you, right? Okay. The thing is, and this gets into step 3, you need to take advantage of the welcome email, or more importantly, the welcome email cadence. So there is a lot of research that says if you sign up for a thing and you get an email and say, hey, here's that thing you asked for, great. And like it falls right out of your head. In fact, there's research to show that a good chunk of people say, ooh, I want that bait. Here's my email address. They get that bait in the email and they never open it. Even after a second kind of like, hey, did you get that thing I sent you? Right? They just don't get around to it. I mean, everybody's email inboxes are pretty full, right? Like they're chock full of stuff. Instead, I like the idea of an initial cadence that set expectations of what you're about to get, what you are offering these candidates in future communications, for lack of a better word, right? I think so for my newsletter, if you go to employerbrandheadlines.com and you sign up, you are given 3 emails in a row. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Pow, pow, pow. Those aren't the newsletters. Those are the welcome cadence that I use to say, hey, I'm James Ellis. This is why I care about employer brand. And the second one's about, hey, since you care about employer brand too, here's some free resources I can send you. And the third one says, hey, I just want to let you know that you're about to get on this newsletter and this is the kind of content you're going to get on a regular basis. If you have any questions, just email me. I'm happy to answer them. 3 emails daily. So even if I only email them on the newsletter once a month, or I hope not, once a quarter, you've set the relationship up well at the beginning. The Katrina Kibben, who everybody knows, I have like the deepest professional crush on Katrina. I love everything they do. They have given me so many lessons. I feel like they're always 3 steps ahead of anything I'm thinking about. And I just go, Katrina, what are you up to? And how do you solve this problem? And they say, yeah, oh, it's this, this, this. One of the things they told me is that When you get a connection on LinkedIn, as soon as someone connects with you, immediately email them via LinkedIn. Say, hey, I'm this person. I care about these things. I solve these problems. Let me know if I can help. And they said, it's really important because it sets the frame of the entire relationship. How should they engage with you? What do you offer? Right? They don't remember why they necessarily subscribed to you or liked you or cared about you or connected with you. They don't remember who said, hey, you should talk to James, you should talk to Katrina. They just did it because we've made it so easy, and it fell out of their head. But if you take the moment to engage with them as soon as that happens, or as quickly as you can, you say, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what you're going to learn. This is what I offer. You're setting the parameters. This model takes the same approach. It's simply saying very quickly, this is what you can expect. And then there's options for things like, hey, if you have any questions, email me, or go to this form, or apply over here, or whatever messages you have. But begin the relationship strong, and you're kind of putting the goodwill into the credit, register of things. So they're willing to open those emails as they come. So the welcome is super, super important. 4, and this is really important because people get sued for not doing this right, and that is making it easy for them to unsubscribe. Now, I'll say right now, I've been through at least 3 different procurement legal processes of buying email tools and systems, and every single time the legal team has assumed that the purveyor of software has never heard of canned spam. They've never heard of Spam Act. They have never thought about it at all. And it boggles the mind. At this point, it's 2023. We all know there are certain basic rules everybody has to follow. And for the most part, actually, I'm going to say almost completely, every company follows them. If they offer you a software package that allows you to send emails, it's impossible to get rid of the unsubscribe link. And sometimes you'll think about trying. Well, I won't say it won't cross your mind, but it is urgent that you double check to make sure you offer that, because if you don't, you can get sued. It's very possible to get sued because you simply are spamming these people, or at least it will feel like spam, not to you, but to them, and they have no way of getting out. And they will be able to start to file complaints, and that's where bad things happen. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, it's very simple to unsubscribe. There are some other legal issues to consider, but I'm always surprised when the legal team walks in assuming it's still 1998. Like we haven't figured some very basic stuff out. But double check with them. Segment. Now this is important. Now this is a place where Substack is not great at that. Right? It's not very easy to say, hey, just send this newsletter to people in Illinois, or just send this newsletter to women, or just send this newsletter to data scientists. It's not really how they're designed. There's some workarounds, and we'll talk about that in a second, but ultimately, you should be thinking about how to segment your audiences. Why? Because you need to hire a lawyer and you need to hire a data scientist, and those people are not the same. They don't care about the same stuff. They're not motivated by the same stuff. They don't want to read the same stuff. So sending something, and this is what is really common, when you're trying to hit all your targets at once, you end up aiming at the middle, which is what's referred to as the mushy middle. You're compromising all across the board, and what you're left with, the content that you're offering, is so because it has to appeal to everybody, and the only thing that appeals to everybody is cute puppies in the sky being blue. Otherwise, it's up for grabs, right? Trying to appeal to everyone is how you get in trouble. It's how you offer something that is so weak, so soft, so unvaluable that people start looking for the unsubscribe button, right? That's how they vote. That's how they're saying, I'm not interested. So you have to think on some level about subscribing. Now, I'm a brander, as you know, so I think about how is the brand true across the board. That's how I build brands. But the act of localizing that brand to different audiences means segmenting. So don't think that I'm going to say, oh, it's just a big brand. I'll just talk about the brand. Don't do that. Think about segmenting. Now, every company is different, and how they segment and what they care about segmenting is going to be different. Sip of coffee. So you have to take that in consideration. You need what you need, but what I need and what you need may not be the same. So think about the most basic segmentation. It may just be tagging. You may not even use the segmentation immediately, but the second you open up your newsletter, your email, your system, to have people subscribe to it, you should be immediately giving them some very basic segmentation, even if you don't leverage that for 6 or 12 months. You don't want to have to, like 12 months from now, go back and say, oh, we have 4,000 people who signed up. I don't know what they signed up for. I don't know who these people are. That's a problem. So think about that. It can be as simple as doctors versus nurses. It can be as simple as tech versus non-tech. It can be as simple as Sweden versus the US. Totally up to you. But think about segmentation. 6. This doesn't get talked about much. And honestly, I think it's the secret weapon of a good pipeline, because we very often think, and to be honest, we're very often sold this idea that a pipeline does all the work, that a tool set just does it. And it doesn't, right? I don't care what ChatGPT can do today. I don't care what it's going to do next week. When someone signs up, you need to make sure that you've got a system in place that looks at them. And by them, I mean, maybe they're LinkedIn. That's a good kind of simple place you can look at people. And decide immediately, is this a good lead or is this an amazing lead? And the amazing lead should be passed directly to your recruiters with some basic instructions like, hey, this person's not applying for a job, but for some reason they're interested in us. I think you should know about them. And you let recruiters do what they do. I have some thoughts on how they could do things better, but this isn't that conversation. Ultimately, you've got to trust that they're going to build that personal one-on-one relationship. And they can take advantage of what the pipeline is doing, but do it in a more personal, direct manner. But you should always be evaluating every single sign up, every single person who logs in, every single person who says, yep, I'm interested in learning more. Just take 10 seconds and say, who is this person and where are they coming from? Right? Even if you only see, so I'm in Substack too, even if you could only see their email address, I like knowing what companies they come from. I can generally see, not always exactly, but what countries they come from. It gives me a sense of, okay, this is my audience. I can get a gauge on what people might care about, what they might be interested in, right? That's interesting to me. That's useful to me. On a more complicated system, they might actually allow you to say, please add your LinkedIn profile. And you can immediately look at where do they work now, what's their job title, what's their function, and you can start to divvy up. That might be how you do that segmentation tagging systems, but the evaluation, the consideration stage is crucial. So don't skimp on that. 7, and this is super technical and super stupid, but also you gotta say it. How are you gonna send these emails? Right? I know people who've tried to build their own pipeline tools, community tools out of their own Gmail accounts, right? They just have a list of people who've said, yeah, that sounds cool. And they have it, they baked a kind of list, like an alias list into their Gmail somehow. And every couple of weeks, they send out an email to that list and it gets spread out to everybody. The challenge is that there are limits to what Gmail can do. I mean, there's literally limits. So you can't send more than 500 BCC messages in a single message. You can't put more than 500 email addresses in the BCC on a Gmail and hope that they all get sent. Right? Gmail has some very clear filtering and limitations on that. And the same is true for Outlook. The same is true for every email system. That is why 15 years ago, places like MailChimp kind of came into being, because they could manage those rules that were previously designed for one-on-one and one-to-small list messaging, right? Like Gmail does, and said, how do we do one-to-many messaging in a way that isn't just spam-ridden, right? That's what it's there for. So chances are, if you're using anything off the shelf, this is not a consideration, but I just wanted to put it in there just to double check. I want to just cross the T's and dot the I's, because this is where we start to have some fun. Content. Right? I was a columnist in my school newspaper. Now, calm down. I know. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you. I'm a human too. Don't have to be too impressed. But I was a columnist, and I experienced the same kind of arc that every new columnist makes, in that early on you're like, ooh, I've always wanted to say this. This is my opinion. I'm going to type it up, and people have to read it. I can't believe I'm influencing these people. And I'm mentally now envisioning people on TikTok having the same feelings, right? And it's great. Right up until the minute you stop thinking, you said everything you wanted to say. Right? Most people apply for those kinds of jobs and those gigs saying, I can't wait to tell people these 10 or 20 things I care about. Well, what happens after on day 22 when you've run out of things to say? That's when you have to build a muscle that says it's not about inspiration, it's about regular content development. It's about building the eye and the perspective that says, looking around my company, I see content out there that maybe most people don't see as content or as possible content, but I now see it as content because I have now strapped myself to this tool called a pipeline tool, and I have to feed the beast, right? And it won't be long before you start to think of your email system as a beast, because it is a beast that needs to be fed. As someone who writes a daily email, it is a beast that needs to be fed. And even if you do it once a month, if you're doing it right, if you're doing it well, if you're not filling it full of garbage, it's a beast and it's hard to fill. So when you start to build that output, those newsletters, those emails, those communications, you start easily. Oh, I've always wanted to say this. This is important. Everybody should know. And you run out of stuff real quick. You need to figure out how you build content and what is going to resonate with your audience. Now, that's where segmentation really shines. That's where you start to realize, wow, the fact that I truly understand what these people want means I know what to give them. It keeps you out of that mushy middle, right? That's important stuff. So here are some things that they're really big buckets, but we can drill down a little bit if you have questions. And again, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Feel free to throw them in the Q&A. The first bucket is thought leadership, right? Now, of course, that's a really fuzzy term. Like, that's a broad term. Some people refer to me as the thought leadership, and I'm like, dude, most days I can't thought leadership myself. I can't think myself into doing the thing I know I got to do, right? I don't know what a thought leader is. I don't know if I am one. I don't know if I know any. And there are people who I read a lot, who I listen to, whose thinking influences me, sometimes more than others. I don't know if I consider them thought leaders. That's a really weird thing. But, loudmouth. I'm a loudmouth. I'll give you that. But allowing people in leadership positions at your company to speak, and by leadership positions, I don't just mean the C-suite. I mean people with expertise, subject matter experts, subject leaders, function leaders. By allowing your leadership of your company to say what they care about, that is a great first step. That is a great way of saying, if I want to attract data scientists, I should ask data scientists what they care about who work here and let them talk, right? That is how you build that rapport. That is how you get people to say, oh, wow, this company really cares about data scientists. They're letting their data scientists talk. They're letting them share, maybe not secrets, right? We could talk about, limitations on legal stuff and patent laws and material content, right? No need to, we're not doing this to adjust the stock price to our advantage, but we still want to make sure people like getting our email, because that is the ultimate litmus test on all of this stuff. Having gotten 5 or 6 or 7 of these messages, are they looking forward to number 8? Right? And if they are, you are doing a phenomenal job. I hope you can make it to 18. I hope you can make it to 88. Right? That's the game. But most of us, it's a heartbreaking moment when we realize we may not be saying stuff anybody cares about, right? Like I said, I send a daily email, and I can see that some things people really respond to, and there's some stuff that I really care about, and those Venn diagrams don't always overlap, right? What we want to say is not always what they want to hear or what they want to learn about. So thinking about what your audience cares about and learning how to find thought leadership inside your company to engage with them, that's a skill. A trick is to treat your prospects like employees. Now, this is a little dangerous, but also useful. So it's a webinar. So we could be a little dangerous for a webinar, I guess. Here's the thing. People ultimately, when they sign up for any kind of talent community, talent pool, pipeline, whatever you want to call it, what they'd really like to know is, what is it like to work there? And to be fair, that's what an employer brand is paid to kind of demonstrate, to show, to illustrate, to highlight. Pick your word. It doesn't matter, right? But that's what their job is. But the truth is, if I'm representing a company of bioscientists, I can't spell mitochondria. How great a job am I going to do in explaining what a biochemist does all day? Nothing. It's a goose egg. Bad news. But if I effectively cherry pick email messages, internal communications, Slack messages, yeah, I said Slack messages, and select stuff that gives a good indication of what it's like to work here, questions we ask each other, how we treat each other, and I screen grab them or I copy them and I put that in a pipeline newsletter, that is gold. Now, you're going to have to get all sorts of legal approval on this stuff. It is scary to say I'm going to open up, but you're not saying, hey, I'm making our core corporate Slack channels open to the public. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you get to be the eyes of the candidate on the inside, and you can find ways of pulling out what is real, what is authentic and true and honest about this company today. Not one day, today. Pick it up, give it a quick little polish so it's public ready, and show it to the world. That is a really, really strong strategy on building good content that the outsiders are going to want to hear more of. It's hard, but legal hurdles are real, but it's incredibly valuable. The last bucket is this idea of amplifying humanity. Right? So much of everything we read, so much of, everything we write. And that's my first swearing. And the fact that I went 41 minutes without swearing is really impressive. I should do it more often. I'm not going to do it arbitrarily, but it might happen. But I'm saying swearing is human, right? You go look at the filings for your stock and IPOs. There's no swearing in those things for the most part. They're so deeply unhuman. They're legal. They're corporate. They're finance. There's no blood in those things. There's no beating heart in those things. There's certainly no soul in those things. There's no humanity in those things. Unfortunately, we're very often, especially when we're focused on that mushy middle, we don't know what to say. We kind of, I'll hedge to the middle. I'll couch it to make it safe. We end up building content that doesn't speak to anybody because it has no soul. Right? It's the equivalent of saying, hey, I have really good information you need to have. Here's the phone book. Say, I guess technically this is information I need to have, but really? Is this what you're giving me? Is this qualifies as bait, as good content? Is this supposed to make me understand the company? No. What you need to do is find places, find means by which your company expresses its humanity and bring it forward as much as you can. Now, one of the kind of overarching ideas here is that, I made a big kind of splash by saying your bait should be this technical paper or really good information or something not quite patentable, but maybe close. Your actual regular content doesn't have to be technical. Once you've got them interested in the technical, having seen that technical idea effectively validates the idea that your company is not a sham, right? If it says it's all about biotech, it's doing biotech stuff, right? Now, check, and I've looked at your LinkedIn and I can see the press releases, so I guess, yes, you're doing biotech stuff. Show me the stuff in this newsletter that I can't get anywhere else. Assume that the person reading this communication is already on your newsletter, has already seen your press releases. They've already seen your career site. They've already seen your corporate site. They're already getting that stuff. You need to offer that which they cannot get anywhere else. That's gold. That's the stuff that gets them coming back over and over and over again. Now, if in doing so, you build yourself a nice little library of content you can eventually leak to LinkedIn, Yay, right? That's a twofer. You win. You're using content twice. But if you push it on LinkedIn first and they start to subscribe to your newsletter and they realize it goes on LinkedIn first, they stop subscribing to your newsletter and you don't have any control over that. The power is having the email address, having direct access. Because there will be opportunity for you to say, we have this rec. I'm going to look at who I know, who's put their LinkedIn profile, who would be an interesting person, and maybe you're going to select 5 or 6 people and push out a piece of information to all of them. A small version of your newsletter, right? So knowing who they are and knowing what they care about and knowing where they've been, so you can say, look, by now you've heard all about the humanness of working here. Let me talk to you about something else. It's a separate useful strategy, kind of an add-on to what you're doing. Okay, last step. Metrics. Even if you're doing this for free, nothing is free. Your time is not free. I'm sorry. Has no one told you that? You're an incredibly valuable, wonderful human being. Every moment you spend not making money or doing a thing is wasted. So your time has to be spent doing stuff that matters, which means you need to track what you're doing, even if it's technically free. So the question is this working? Here's the thing. I don't know, because I don't know what you're trying to do. Are you doing this just to get a database of 5 trillion names that you can reach out to whenever you want to? Okay. Then volume is the metric you should care about. Do you have 2 trillion or are you on your way to 3 trillion? If yes, good, you're working. Congratulations. You're doing a great job. If the goal, okay, doing a little back of the napkin math, you're a 1,000 person company, you probably have 150 recs this year, okay, even if you do it right, you really need about 10 great applicants per rec, that's 15,000 people. Do you have 15,000 subscribers? Yes? Great. You're winning. You are doing what needs to get done. So start not by what's the metrics, what are the things that are measurable. Start with what you're trying to achieve and then figure out the metrics on are you achieving it? And that means knowing what you're trying to achieve. And I can't tell you what that is. So with that, I will leave you with this. I'm James Ellis. I hope this has been useful to you. I hope this has been valuable to you. If you have any questions, just sign up for my newsletter. That's the best way to kind of keep in touch and learn some employer branding type stuff. Otherwise, my book should be live shortly, if not by tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm around, always happy to help. Find me on LinkedIn, happy to answer questions. Thanks so much for Clinch for putting this together and for inviting everybody. They have a great tool. It's not free, but it's great. So you balance your math accordingly. But I appreciate everything they've done and to bring this together and put this together. So I hope this is useful, and I'll see y'all later.